the cars on winter tires. How do you test a performance car on winter tires? Who even launches a performance car in the middle of winter? M5s have changed a lot over the decades. Once athletes in pinstriped suits, they have become fit dads, equally passionate about hiking and family time. You know the type, the ones who cycle the kids to school, hit a trail run afterwards, all while carrying a baby in a backpack. Ugh. The G90 M5 is the last one out of Garching to get the shock and awe treatment. But it's probably the least shocking of the G-series M cars. Is it classically handsome though, like the F90 was? Not so sure. Let me draw your attention to the daytime running lights. It seems over the decades BMW has gone from circles to cut-in-half hexagons to punctuation marks and typographical symbols. So what do you think the next one will be? My guess, a dinkus or dinkuses. Depending on the dictionary you choose to look it up in, you might get entirely different results. Speaking of the lights, following the illuminated kidney grille seen on the X5 and X6 and X7, the M5 debuts an outlined kidney grille, which itself hosts a whole range of gubbins. The headlight design is a nod to their E60. They stretch far into the flared wing, also a first on the M5, and then we arrive at the main point of contention. This flap, or rather what the flap represents. Satan. Yes, the dark forces, also called the EU, are responsible for every new car coming with its own gravitational field, which ideally is powered by an organically fed hamster which runs in its sustainably sourced hamster wheel. The solution? I don't know. Exorcism? Moving on with the looks. The M carbon door mirrors, the carbon roof and the carbon spoiler are optional extras, and while I'm not sure how much they improve performance, they certainly improve the looks. For the first time on the M5, the Hofmeister kink is not part of the rear door anymore. Instead, it's a gloss black panel that extends the window lines into the rear wing. I think it works. I've seen worse ones. At the rear we have got a bolder diffuser graphic, or pretend diffuser graphic, and the typical exhaust quadruplet. All in all, pretty aggressive. For nobody's surprise, the new M5 is brasher and bolder as the previous one. Bowie rather than Beethoven. Or do we consider Bowie old as well? Let's ask ChatGPT. Give me a modern artist whose name starts with B. Beyonce. Beyonce is not modern. There are countries that are younger than Beyonce. I think there was a cave that's been recently exposed by a receding glacier in which they found a painting of Beyonce. So who else? Billie Eilish. Who else? Bad Bunny. No idea. You get the gist. Oh dear. The footwell is not very deep. So what you say? A shallow footwell is a sign that there is a huge battery pack under the driver's seat. And that usually entails a high seating position. Let's see. Turns out the seating position is quite okay. Then there's the M-specific light show, which is not to everybody's liking, but I'm okay with it. What I'm not so okay with is the continued use of these glossy, touch-sensitive surfaces that mimic buttons. A bit surprising and unusual is how little buttons there are on the steering wheel. Car manufacturers have us conditioned to spec everything so you don't end up with an empty place on your dashboard or a fake button that doesn't do anything. So when you see a steering wheel with so few buttons, you end up thinking that this is a poverty spec M5. I sold my M2 in March, so I haven't had a BMW since, and this might be symptoms of withdrawal. But how thick is this steering wheel? Seriously, somebody talk to the guy who keeps designing these things. It seems like a cry for help to me. However, whatever you do, don't let your wives and girlfriends drive your M cars. You'll never hear the end of it. Ah yes, that's the music. And what is the first thing you do in a 1,000,000 horsepower supercar? Whee! It's great fun first time. It's somewhat fun the second time. It's fun the third time when you show your mate for the first time. But then it gets a bit old. Maybe it's fun the fourth time when you show the pretty co-worker that you somehow persuaded to drive home after the company event. But then it's definitely old. So is there any more depth to the M5? So the S68 is apparently an all-new engine. However, the S-Series engines are not exclusive to the, how do I call this? The legacy M lineup. So what this means, the M60Is of whatever series are getting the S68 as well. In a detuned fashion, admittedly, but it's the same engine code. It's astonishing how precisely you can place the car on the road. It is wide, it is big, it's not easy to see where the car ends. That is a bit difficult, but when it comes to driving and where the wheels are, it is intuitive. Turn-in is sharp, grip levels out of corners are astonishing, and with the immediacy of the electric motors you can pretty much slingshot out of any corner, no matter how tight. I hate this terrible cliche that automotive journalists have brought into this world. Yes, it does conceal its weight superbly. There, I said it. But it really does. The chassis wizards at BMW M have done a great job. The G90 M5 manages to conceal its considerable weight. Well done. So, I did not like the car very much when it was launched. I didn't like it very much. I didn't even like it very much when I picked it up and I drove home that day. I didn't like it very much when I did my first launch. I didn't like it very much after the long distance trip into the Swiss Alps. However, the moment I hit the mountain passes, things changed. Yes, the car is still up for shenanigans, as an M5 should be. It's rather controllable, it is fun. Yes, you can. It turns out you can still buy an M5 in 2025 and still have fun with it. And I don't mean the kind of fun where you slowly roll through the cities, make noise, attract the attention of the police, but rather the kind of fun that really involves driving, and not only driving in a straight line. I think that's what's more important, because lots of cars can do straight line, but it's BMWs that do the corner stuff. It's just a bit better than most of other car makers. The G90 M5 has really got layers that you can peel away one by one. You start with a rather plump machine with 1,000,000 horsepower and torque. You do a few launches, you have a few giggles, and then you start discovering that, yeah, all right, it's fun the fifth time as well. You discover that you can take any corner at almost any speed because turn-in is so sharp. And then you start playing with the drivetrain. Yes, you start leaning on it a bit more. Yes, you start going sideways a bit. And it never seems, or it never feels like as if the car was uncomfortable doing it. It's giving you time to get there naturally. And for that I have to commend the M people. Yes, I wish it wasn't a hybrid. I wish it was lighter. I wish it had a V10. God, do I wish it had a naturally aspirated V10. But it doesn't. But look, the verdict is this. In 2025, you can buy an M5 that is still an M5. The end. I had one of my greatest ever driving experiences in this car. A snowy Flierler pass is usually something I would avoid, but I thought the four-wheel drive M5 should be able to handle it, and handle it did. So much so that after a few cautious minutes, it inspired a lot of confidence to hurl it up the pass. Where do we go from here? Some people will hate it for its weight, some people will still go ahead and buy it for its brazen appearance or ludicrous straight-line warp speed performance. But then there might be a few people who are willing to give the car a chance for its chassis magic. And to those folks, you will not be disappointed, heavy or not.